Good afternoon, or good evening as the case may be. As Professor Moona has said in the first session, 15 minutes is not enough either to talk about the EVM or about money in the electoral and political processes. So what I intend doing is make a few bland statements and then give some examples, maybe 2 or 3, which are based on our own experience. The so-called the organization I work with, the Association for Democratic Reforms. To give you an idea of how complicated this process is, there is a paper that was published in the Economic and Political Weekly. The editor who published is here, and I'm very happy to see him here. It's an 8-page paper in small print. So even if I were to try and summarize that, it will go beyond 15 minutes, so I will not do that. Let me say that in India, it is believed, at least by me and by some more people, that political finance is at the core of the so-called black money issue in the country. All black money starts from political funding. And I will use political and electoral funding at times interchangeably, but they are two different things. Political parties need money to run their affairs round the year after year, and money is required for contesting elections. So the money used in elections, money is needed to contest an election. There is nowhere does it say or in 2006, the organization I work with, the Association for Democratic Reforms, filed an RTI application with the CBDT, which all of you know, Central Bureau of Direct Taxes, requesting copies of income tax returns of 22 political parties. Our application was transferred to 22 Chief Commissioners of Income Tax in the country, and we got 22 rejections. So we filed 22 first appeals in 22 locations. Then in due time, our first appeals were also rejected. Then we filed a second appeal to the Central Information Commission. So there were several hearings. The rejection by the Income Tax Department was done on the basis that this is third-party information and the political parties have said this information should not be given. We tried to point out that the third-party clause says that the information officer will consult the third party, take the third party's views, take them into consideration, and apply his or her mind, and then decide whether the information should be made available or not. But Income Tax Department thought otherwise. In the CIC, there were several hearings, and in the last hearing, the political parties were represented by 10 senior advocates, 2 of whom had been flown from Chennai to argue that this income tax return copy should not be given. Mercifully, after a few days, the decision came. By the time it was 2008, that information, copies of income tax returns should be given. So we were very pleased and we got hold of these copies and we looked at them and we discovered that political parties had declared varying amounts of income every year, some thousands of crores, some hundreds of crores, but none of them had paid any income tax. So being kind of innocents, we thought we have got them, that they have not paid income tax, let us now say this. So we tried to figure out. Then we discovered that the Income Tax Act has a section 13A, which specifically exempts all political parties from paying income tax 100%. So that route was closed. Then we found that the section 13A had a proviso which it said that this exemption is available provided a political party maintains its accounts and submits a donation of a list of donations of more than rupees 20,000 each to the Election Commission. And it said under section 29C of the Representation of People Act, so the thing found mention in 2 acts. So we went to the Election Commission. We said, please let us know how many parties have submitted this statement of donations. And to our great surprise, only 4 parties had ever submitted statement of donations. Whereas at that time there were something like 1,500 registered political parties. So we thought, all right, we have now something. So we went to the Supreme Court, saying that since this exemption was to be available only if this statement of donations is filed, then those political parties who have not filed the statement and who have enjoyed these exemptions, they should be asked to pay income tax. And those income tax officers who allowed the exemption without the statement of donation should be asked to explain why did they do it. And we thought we had an open and shut case, but as I think Dr. Quraishi earlier mentioned, that the judiciary does a lot of good things, but sometimes it doesn't do them also. So the Supreme Court did not admit our case, but we did not give up. We totaled up the donations of more than 20,000 each for all these parties, and we compared that total amount of donations of 20,000 each to their total income. And to our surprise, it turned out that the donations of more than 20,000 each explained only 20 to 25% of their total income. So 75 to 80% of the income of all political parties on average was from unknown sources. So we said, all right, let us now seek this information. So we sent RTI applications to political parties. All of them, without exception, said, we are not under the RTI Act. So we said, we got the income tax returns, so therefore they must be under the RTI Act. So we went to the CIC again with this request to declare them as public authorities. The CIC said, no, that was a different issue. In this case, unless you can prove to us that they satisfy the definition of a public authority given under section 2H of the RTI Act, then we will not do it. So we then set upon a mammoth exercise, and some of the people who did that are sitting here, and I want to acknowledge them. We filed something like 2,000 RTI applications to various government authorities, one of which was the Director of Estates, which all of you are familiar with, because all of you have had houses allotted by the Director of Estates. So we asked the Director of Estates that what government accommodation is allotted to political parties, which political party, and what is the rent. So the rent of a house or a bungalow on Akbar Road and of a bungalow on Ashoka Road was found to be 450 rupees a month. So we went to 3 real estate agencies in Delhi and asked them what is the market rent of these houses. And obviously you can take your own guess. And the balance, we told the CIC, is public money being spent on political parties. Similarly, this is just one example. If a party declares 1,000 crores of income and pays 0 tax, so 30%, which means 300 crores of public revenue is foregone. So we put up all this data over 2 years. We collected it over 2 years and we put it to the Central Information Commission. Again, there were arguments and so on and so forth. But on I think the 3rd of June 2013, a full bench of the CIC said 6 national political parties are public authorities under the law. 6 because we had collected data only for 6. Collecting data for 6 took 2 years. Had we set upon collecting data for 50, then it is not the same thing as, drying a piece of cloth in 5 minutes and so on. But it would have taken time. Now we thought this is very interesting, now we will know this. When we again sent RTI applications to political parties, they just refused to acknowledge them and do anything. No response, no action, sent through speed post, registered post were returned, nothing. So we then filed a complaint of non-compliance to the CIC, that your order has not been complied with, please take action. And there are sections in the RTI Act which say that you can fine the public information officer, you can award damages, and we asked for both. But after a 2-year back and forth, the CIC finally said we are not able to get our own order enforced or implemented. During that process, I'll give you just one little tidbit of information. There were these representatives of these 6 political parties sitting across the table in the CIC, and a very well-known leader, whose name I will not give you, but he was from one of the left parties. This person said in that meeting, we are morally bound to be transparent, but we don't want to be legally bound to be transparent. And when we came out, he said to me, Mr. Chhokar, you are doing very good work. I said, sir, I wish you would say that inside and agree with what I am saying. The point I am making is, all political parties are unanimous in ensuring or in trying to ensure that the source of their money should not be disclosed. Now, of course, we are in the Supreme Court for the same issue. The Union of India has submitted an affidavit in the Supreme Court saying political parties should not be under the RTI. The reason for this is simple, in my mind. I have been on television debates, I had a politician on one side and a corporate person on the other side. The corporate person says, we want to give money by check, but they don't want it by check. The politician says, we want to take money by check, but they don't want to give it by check. So I asked them, I said, look, both these statements cannot be right. But there was no explanation coming forth, but subsequently it occurred to me that I've been a student of organizations all my life, so I sort of look at organizational behavior and individual behavior. If a corporate gives a check, then the entire check gets deposited in the account, there can be no hanky-panky. If a corporate gives 10 crores in cash, so the corporate representative, obviously the chairperson does not give it himself or herself, some accountant type person takes the cash, he takes away a little bit. Then he gives it to the political underling. Nobody gives money to Sitaram Kesari person, I suppose. So he takes out something for himself. This is how we find that every 5 years, the assets of MLAs and MPs go up by 100%, 200%, 3,000%. So this is one little example how political parties don't want their sources of information to be known. Now the other example. If you remember, recently the government has come out with something called electoral bonds. I will talk about electoral bonds a little later, but before that, I want to talk about electoral trusts. You see, the UPA government came out with electoral trusts. That to have an arm's length relationship between political parties and corporates, people or corporates can set up trusts, which will be called electoral trusts, and anybody can make whatever donation they want to an electoral trust and get 100% tax exemption on that. And the electoral trust will have to donate 95% of what it gets within the same year to various political parties. And therefore, the nexus between the corporates and the politicians will be broken. Wonderful. So we started following the trusts. So we discovered that there was a trust called Political and Public Awareness Trust. So there were trusts like Bharti Trust, Falana Trust. So by the name you could figure out who has set it up. But this was a bit mysterious, Political and Public Awareness Trust. And it gave equal donations of something like 5-10 crores to BJP and the Congress. So they were kind of hedging their bets. We decided to investigate who has set up this trust. And we found that 3 companies, one in mining, one in shipping, and one in, I think, plastics, located in different parts of the country, had come together to set up this one trust. This again was a little mysterious, that why should these 3 companies come together? A little more information, or as in law it is said, lifting the corporate veil. When we lifted the corporate veil from the trust, we found 3 companies. When we lifted the corporate veil from the 3 companies, we found one company, registered in the UK, Vedanta Resources Limited. So there is an act called FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulations Act. All those who have something to do with civil society here know how great that act is. It can put anybody in the dock. Section 4 of the old FCRA said, political parties cannot accept money from foreign sources. So we filed a case in the Delhi High Court saying that these donations are foreign money and therefore BJP and Congress have violated the FCRA and action should be taken against them. On 24th of March 2014, the Delhi High Court said yes, they have violated FCRA, and they asked the Election Commission and the Union of India to take action against them within 6 months of the judgment. We were very pleased with the judiciary this time. But for 6 months there was no action. The Election Commission wrote a letter to the Home Ministry saying that since you are the administering ministry of the FCRA, only you can take action, we can take no action. The Home Secretary wrote a DO letter to the Secretary Corporate Affairs saying, please tell us how many foreign companies have donated to political parties for the last 5 years. So those lists started coming in and the Home Secretary started sending those lists to the Election Commission. In effect, there was no action. But 1 week before the 6 months were over, both parties filed appeals in the Supreme Court. Okay, we shall go through the legal process. The process began. In the meanwhile came the budget last year. So our Honorable Finance Minister put a line in the budget amending the FCRA to change the definition of foreign source so that Vedanta is covered by it. Vedanta was no longer a foreign source. And in the Supreme Court, when the next hearing, the lawyers of BJP and the Congress said, Your Honor, the FCRA has been amended. This company is not a foreign source, therefore this case is infructuous. Our lawyers very humbly pointed out, and in the second paragraph of the High Court judgment, it was said that the FCRA was first enacted in 1976. In 2010, it was re-enacted as FCRA 2010, and there is a clause saying the FCRA 1976 is hereby repealed. And since these donations were accepted before 2009, therefore they will be adjudicated based on the 1976 Act and not the 2010 Act. Our learned Finance Minister had amended the FCRA, which was in force, which was 2010. That didn't help. So the lawyer said that, we need to take instructions from our clients. So the Supreme Court bench said, okay, come tomorrow. So they were taken aback. They said, no sir, we will time one day, we'll need more time. They thought they'll get 4 or 5 months and they'll do something else. The bench said, come next week. So when they came next week, both lawyers withdrew their appeals. So we then wrote to the Home Secretary again saying that, this is what has happened. The Supreme Court has implicitly approved that High Court judgment. Therefore, 2.5 years have gone by. Please take action, and if you don't take action, we'll file a contempt of court petition against you. Obviously, no action was taken, and we filed the contempt of court petition. That was being heard, and of course, dates were being taken. Came the budget of this year. Now, in the budget, in the finance bill of this year, there is one line which is very innocuous, which says that in the amendment in the Finance Act section so and so of last year, the year 2010 should be replaced by the year 1976. If you read the Finance Act of this year, FCRI is not mentioned. It is an amendment to the Finance Bill of last year. Now, the situation is that a bill which was repealed 8 years ago is being amended, has been amended. The Parliament has approved the Finance Bill. So we are in the court saying, how can a repealed act be amended? And we've been saying that this is like taking a person who died 8 years ago and without bringing him back to life, because you cannot do that, so you are giving a knee replacement to this dead body. This is the extent political parties can go to hide this. And there is a piece that I wrote in which there is a clip from Abhishek Singhvi, who admits that this was done because the only other option was prosecution of these two parties. Therefore, it was agreed that this amendment would be done. So there is no law which applies to political parties. Now, this was the story of the electoral trusts. Now we come to electoral bonds. Commodore Verma is sitting here. Sorry? Oh, sorry, हाँ. वो तो General Verma है ना, मुझे उनका नाम याद करना. General Verma is my colleague and is Commodore Batra. So he has been chasing me with the Election Commission on electoral bonds. Electoral bonds, the Finance Minister in his budget speech had a paragraph called Transparency in Electoral Funding. It had two paragraphs. The first paragraph was a description of how political and electoral funding has been in a mess for the last 70 years and nobody has been able to do anything about it. The second paragraph was, we shall now do this. The Reserve Bank of India Act will be amended and electoral bond shall be introduced, where the identity of everybody will not be known and everything will be in white money through bank. The same afternoon, there was a press briefing or a media interaction with the Finance Minister where he said the electoral bonds will be in the nature of bearer bonds. The identity of the donor will be anonymous. So since that day, which was I think 1st or 2nd of February this year, I have been looking for a dictionary which might tell me that transparency and anonymity are synonymous. But electoral bonds are here. Earlier there was a provision in the Companies Act that a company could donate only up to 7.5% of its profits to a political party. This 7.5% limit has been removed. Now, a company can donate whatever it likes. There was also a provision in the Companies Act that if a corporate gives some money to a political party, they will have to disclose the name of the party and the amount given. That has also been removed. So now, one can go to State Bank of India, buy electoral bonds. The great thing that the Finance Minister says is that KYC details will have to be given to the State Bank of India. So you get a document, which is a bond, which of course initially was supposed to be completely anonymous. Now a journalist has discovered that there is an invisible number on that, which is later discovered. Anyway, you could buy a bond and go and give it to a political party. Political party will deposit it in its pre-designated account. Where is the transparency? Transparency is this. A company who buys the bonds, the argument is this will be reflected in the balance sheet or in the profit and loss account. But what will be reflected in the balance sheet is that company ABC bought XYZ amount of corporate bonds. That's it. Political party in its accounts will show X amount, X number of or X amount of corporate bonds have been received. From whom? No. Complete opacity. And the heading of the two paragraphs was transparency in electoral. So UPA tried electoral trusts. The NDA has got electoral bonds. The Election Commission actually wrote a letter to the Finance Ministry saying that these electoral bonds are going to be completely opaque and non-transparent. And Commodore Patra sent me a copy of that letter in the earlier session. So it's in my phone. But on that letter, no action has been taken by the Finance Ministry. And obviously, the Election Commission has not thought it necessary to remind the Finance Ministry that if you have taken any action on our letter. So, electoral bonds is another device where political funding will become totally opaque. And, if I may say so, there is another sinister aspect to this. You buy a bond from State Bank of India in Parliament Street and you start moving towards Akbar Road. So, at the next roundabout, you might get a phone call that I believe you have bought electoral bond worth 100 crores. So normal person will start sweating however much the air conditioning may be in the car. And then the person will be told, you know, मैं कुछ नहीं कह रहा था, सोच लीजिए किसको आप देना चाहते हैं. This could be a way. You know, the Finance Minister may say that the State Bank of India will not give KYC particulars to anybody. I mean, are we all completely imbecilic? State Bank of India will not tell the RBI. The RBI will not tell the Finance Ministry. And Finance Ministry will not tell whoever. So this could be, and I am saying that this is a speculation. There is no evidence that this has happened or that it will happen. This can be used to choke financing for all political parties except the party in power. And I would not attract your attention to a report that we issued recently where the financing, the donations to one party have increased by 82% and for another one have decreased by 16%. So, ladies and gentlemen, political financing is a huge issue. It is an issue all over the world. I can tell you it is an issue in Sweden, it is an issue in Switzerland, where I have personal knowledge. US, of course, everybody knows. Now, the point is, how does one deal with it? Dr. Quraishi has a very ingenious suggestion, which he will tell you that we should pay political parties, not candidates. And there is a formula. But the thing which he says, with your permission, sir? So anyway, so the only thing that can be done is that, I mean, I hate to say that they sound very big, that we the people, with the help of the media and the judiciary, have to put pressure on political parties. Left to themselves on their own, they will not do anything about it. And I have told you two recent instances. There are earlier instances. There was a case where, you know, that the expenditure incurred by friends and relatives of the candidate was not to be counted towards the expenditure by the candidate. And there was a Supreme Court judgment, you know, Kavarlal Gupta versus Amarnath Chawla, where they said this should not be done. And sure enough, the law was amended immediately. So laws are amended like this to protect all political parties. It is not a question of A versus B versus C versus D. Left parties are in it, Aam Aadmi Party is in it, everybody is in it. And unless we really focus on this as a concerted effort, I don't think this will change. And unless this changes, everything else about, corruption, ye wo, lokpal, falana dhanga, nothing is going on. My suggestion, request is let each one of us do what we can to try and make political financing transparent. They should take money. People should give money. Why hide it? Thank you very much.
Now, he mentioned about Finance Minister's budget speech, where he said something in 2 paragraphs. Actually, there were 2 sentences in just 1 paragraph. He missed out the second sentence. He said, Finance Minister said that for the last 70 years, we have failed to achieve transparency of political funding. Second sentence, without transparency of political funding, free and fair elections are not possible. After this admission, what do you expect? Some transparency. What has happened is just the opposite. Now, electoral bonds totally opaque. And even more dangerous, the cap on the corporate funding, which was 7.5%, has been removed altogether. Now, what does it imply? That now companies can exist to run political parties. 100% of their business can be running political parties. This is what is happening, and nobody batted an eyelid. It should have raised such a shindy that the finance bill should have been struck, but nobody really flagged it. Second thing he mentioned about two notes, there was a sting operation done by the wire. They bought 2 electoral bonds of 1,000 rupees each. And they they went to a forensic lab and they found that there were secret numbers embedded in it. Secret, unique numbers.
The journalist she's a young lady.
Yeah.
Very brave.
Yeah, the queen. Queen or whichever, the queen, if you say that, it must be queen. So, and then I also tweeted that this is very serious, and the reply which we saw on the social media from the government that those numbers are like identification of the note, like you have the currency note. Now, currency note numbers are not secretly embedded; they are right there for everybody to see. These are secretly embedded. They came out with a wishy-washy answer, which again nobody questioned, including the Queen. They should have followed it up. Yeah, they are following it up. That would be nice. Secondly, when I was getting ready for this conference, what I had in my mind is a very cynical thought even now. All you bright people with lifelong experience or concern, government cares a hoot about it. True. The political parties are so thick-skinned, they just don't bother. What they probably would bother about is the judiciary. If your public opinion, your hue and cry and ADR's effort can go to the Supreme Court and get some order passed, that's your view. I've often said that the Supreme Court is the guardian angel of our democracy and has been of the Election Commission. Best of the reforms in the last 20 years have come through the Commission when political parties have declined. He told you how even the affidavit of your criminal antecedents and your financial background, they got the Supreme Court to pass. They passed an act annulling the judgment of the Supreme Court. That not only the criminal cases where you have been convicted, only that will be notified, not the cases under which you are still being tried. They went back to the Supreme Court and Supreme Court annulled the case, they annulled the act as ultra-virus, and they said no, what we have said you are free to. See, that is the reason why we know what we know about the finances of the criminal cases, otherwise we would have known nothing. Third thing I would like to mention that Aam Aadmi Party, when they started this model of a totally transparent system of donation and fund and expenditure, everything was on the website. I praised it in every forum internationally. I even encouraged them to go and talk to various conferences and international fora. And one day I found somebody tweeted, I used to praise it, I praised it in my book also. Somebody tweeted, Mr. Quraishi, you are defending them, it has disappeared from the website. Now that was a matter of concern. I talked to one top leader of the party and he said, sir, you know why we have deleted it? Because every donor was rated or being rated. Now that good model which was being evolved has been killed. Now this rate Raj, this is a matter of concern, and enough the societal response probably is not visible. But with these additions to what to the brilliant presentation of Professor Chhokar, my last thing which he probably has a rejoinder is by the formulation. What do I suggest? Although I have now started saying that the election commission has done wonderful things, but one I would like to admit that one area where we are almost failing is the money power. We thought when we set up expenditure monitoring division in my time in 2010 that we'll get on top of it. In fact, in my inaugural press conference when I became the CEC, I had given myself two challenges: voter apathy and money power. Voter apathy, we have done almost participation revolution. Every election since 2010 is giving highest turnout. But here, after initial 2-3 years of success, when we see about 1,200 or 2,000 crores of rupees, after that they came up with new modus operandi. In my book, I had identified 40 modus operandi of cheating. In fact, when I was writing the book, I was faced with the dilemma what heading to give. The American heading would have been how to cheat 40 ways. But then I would have been taken to task by the audiences as how to stop cheating 40 ways. So now they surely have evolved many more modus operandi. And the most visible one is that election commission had started a danda. Now the money reaches the destination before election commission comes into play, before the model code comes into operation. The money has already reached the villages. It has already reached the destination, the fair price shop, the liquor shop, or wherever is the destination is already there. That is something we need to do. My formulation, my suggestion is, although the corruption, one statement I have made many times that electoral corruption has become the root cause of all corruption in the country. When you spend crores in election illegally, you have to raise crores, and how you raise crores, everybody knows. There is a legal limit. Lok Sabha 70 lakhs, Vidhan Sabha 28 lakhs at the moment, variable. But we know anecdotally, everybody knows that 10, 20, 100 times more money is being spent. Then we are asked, if you know that, why are you not catching it? That requires evidence. I mean, judicial process requires evidence. We know it, but we have no evidence. So, now what to do? See, for the last 20 years, several committees, 30 years, Dinesh Goswami, Indrajit Gupta committee, they all say that there be state funding of elections. Which he correctly says, instead of state funding, let's call it public funding, and whatever the same thing, purpose is the same. Now, I am against state funding of elections because election funding is impossible to monitor. It is not the white money which we are after, it is the black money which we cannot control. Therefore, my 70 lakh check given to a Lok Sabha candidate will only supplement the 20 crores which he is going to spend anyway. So that will be the good money thrown at bad money is literally useless. My formulation is that without fund, political parties cannot function, democracy cannot function. Let us fund political parties based on their actual performance, which cannot be funded. After the election, for every vote, my rough calculation is 100 rupees for every vote that you get. Last general election, 55 crores votes were cast. At 100 rupees, that becomes 5,500 crores. So we give 5,500 crores to a political party according to their performance. One question will be, will that be enough? My answer, yes, it will be enough. How do I say that? Because what they have disclosed to us to the election commission in the last 5 years is only 4,000 crores. By hook and crook, by all sources, all parties together have collected 4,000 crores. So that is all they need for the election. Here we are talking of 5,500 crores, it should be enough. Now, corporate funds should be banned altogether. Here they have removed the limit. The corporates will be running the country and there is no free lunch. If they donate 5, 10, 20 crores, there is a quid pro quo. It is true that CII had presented a report in 2015 where they said that we would like funding to be secret because the other parties start hounding us, which is to my mind rubbish. The real reason is they don't want that quid pro quo to get known. Now, we know, you know, everybody knows that every donor funds every party. And whichever comes to power, that is the party I funded, because along with all others, this has been happening. And it has never happened in the past that a party which came to power started punishing the donor of other parties. That hasn't happened in the past. I don't know how things are today. Now that is something which we have to appreciate. The answer is that after that, corporate fund should be totally banned. If this money is enough, make it a little more, we can even increase it, but this money is enough to fund. Now 70% of European countries have this system. If it can work there, why can't it work here? Here is a proposal of giving them some money. They don't want to look at it, because they want opacity. They are all of them together, and then they say there is no consensus. Whenever they want to put down anything, they have majorities, but when they don't want something, they say there is no political consensus. I think this is something on which public opinion should be built, and because corporate world will not support us, they will go for opacity. Maybe court can come in. I don't know how. Even court can come in on this issue at least, on others they can. This is the position, ladies and gentlemen.
This has been a very rich session, and I agree with this, that political funding is really the paap ki gangotri of the way the system has got vitiated. And when we talk about state funding, and as you said, from Dinesh Goswami, Indrajit Gupta, the law commissions, innumerable reports that have gone into it, in a way, it's like a jumla. And it really reflects our helplessness. We really don't know how to do it. Because all parties will pay lip service, but really at the end of it, we all know, you know, I know, and the way things work, they're not serious. And unless there is a political will at the end of the day, we are not going to be able to scratch the surface. The election bond, the electoral bonds that he talked about, we know. इसका फायदा ruling party को होगा, opposition को नहीं होगा. That is the whole purpose of it. Aam Aadmi Party had on their website in the beginning, all their donors. Why is it stopped? I mean, there may be other reasons why it stopped. Because the donors will get harassed, will get identified. That is the harsh truth. We don't have the strong institutions in our country where a donor will say, I will fund the Congress party, I believe in it, or I will fund the BJP, and know that they are not going to be harassed or hounded. ये नहीं है हमारे देश में अभी. It's a very tragic thing. So today, through these bonds, the ruling party will be funded well, and as you said, 7.5% cap is gone. As far as the opposition parties are concerned, because it's an open scene today, you don't know will the opposition come back to power in 2019. Opposition unity is taking place. The BJP is losing ground. We don't know. So many people will fund the opposition parties, but do it through cash. We all know all this. Now, just to quickly, I don't want to be long at all. I just want to make 2-3 brief points on the Election Commission. When you go out of the country and view elections, sometimes you get a different perspective. And in the middle of all that's going wrong, and particularly if you cover politics as I do and cover elections as I've done for the last 30-40 years, you start to become despondent, and yet you've got to remind yourself that the Election Commission of India probably today is the most important institution in our country, because at the heart of our democracy is the election, which is still alive. And the magnitude of this exercise that the Election Commission conducts every 5 years is mind-boggling. 840 million voters. The combined population of the US, Western Europe. I think 10 lakh booths. How many EVMs did he talk about? The far corners of the country to access probably takes you 3-4 days to take an EVM to those corners for people to cast their votes. And yet, in the last 7 decades, we've had smooth transition of government, largely peaceful. Indira Gandhi, even after the emergency, resigning, making way for the new government. And 1996, I remember when Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government came, they couldn't get the majority after 13 days. Then this ragtag United Front somehow cobbled together a government supported by the Congress from outside. All this happened, the uncertainty, the insecurity, but it happened without any violence. From one Prime Minister to the next. So there is an inherent strength in our democracy, and we have to thank the Election Commission of India. When we feel despondent, there have been ups and downs, it's been a very turbulent journey that they have made, and yet it's been manned by men of stature, character on the whole. And they are probably, I would say, one of the most respected institutions of India globally today, watched. So what are the challenges? I would say the biggest challenge today is credibility.